During the dark days of World War II, as London was shrouded in nightly blackouts to avoid detection by enemy bombers, a new kind of fear crept through the city, one not from the skies, but from the shadows. Amid the chaos of war and the cover of darkness, a serial killer emerged who would come to be known as the Blackout Killer. His real name was Gordon Frederick Cummins, a seemingly respectable Royal Air Force officer who used the pitch-black streets of London as a hunting ground. The wartime blackout, which was meant to protect citizens, ironically created the perfect conditions for Cummins to carry out his gruesome crimes undetected. Between February 9th and February 13th, 1942, Cummins embarked on a horrifying spree that would leave 6 women brutally attacked, 4 of them murdered. These were not crimes of simple opportunity or desperation. Each killing bore signs of calculated violence, often involving sexual assault, strangulation, and the use of blunt instruments. The city, already straining under the pressure of air raids and rationing, now found itself gripped by a different kind of terror. Newspapers, though limited by wartime censorship, began to whisper of a murderer stalking the blackened streets. The killer's signature was both literal and symbolic. He thrived in darkness. What made Cummins especially chilling was his double life. By day, he presented himself as a charming, well-spoken serviceman, mingling with fellow airmen and enjoying the privileges of military status. By night, he transformed into a predator, luring women, often sex workers or women working late hours, into quiet alleyways or bombed-out buildings, where he unleashed unspeakable violence. This duality fooled many and frustrated the police, who were under pressure to solve the case before panic set in. The investigation struggled to keep pace with the killer's movements, as resources were already stretched thin by the demands of wartime policing. Eventually, Cummins made a critical mistake. After attacking a woman who managed to survive and report the incident, police were able to recover personal items linked to him, including a gas mask with a service number. It was a break investigators had been desperately hoping for. When they arrested him, they found stolen belongings from several victims in his possession. Even in custody, Cummins remained disturbingly calm and detached. He denied the murders but offered no plausible explanations for the mounting evidence against him. The trial that followed was swift and garnered immense public interest, as citizens yearned for justice in a time already burdened by death and destruction. Cummins was convicted and sentenced to death for his crimes, with the execution taking place in June 1942 at Wandsworth Prison. His reign of terror had lasted only a few days, but the fear and trauma he left behind lingered for far longer. His case became one of the most notorious examples of how societal disruption such as that caused by war can give rise to monsters who exploit the moment. Cummins remains a unique figure in British criminal history, a wartime serial killer whose crimes were camouflaged by the very measures meant to ensure public safety. Long after his execution, criminologists and historians have continued to study Cummins' behavior. What drove an educated, relatively privileged man to such extremes? Some speculated about deep-rooted psychological issues, possibly exacerbated by the stress and trauma of wartime life. Others pointed to narcissism, entitlement, and an underlying hatred toward women. Whatever the cause, Cummins' actions highlighted the thin line between order and chaos in society and how quickly that line can blur under pressure. The Blackout Killer's legacy is particularly haunting because of how war masked his crimes. In a city where death was a daily reality, a few more lives lost went unnoticed at first. The war not only provided cover but distracted from patterns that might have otherwise drawn attention sooner. It raises questions about how many other crimes during global conflicts have gone unrecorded or unsolved, hidden beneath larger tragedies. Cummins, in many ways, used war as a shield, twisting a national crisis into personal opportunity for horror. His story also shines a grim light on the vulnerability of women during war, especially those forced by circumstances into precarious work or living conditions. As men were sent off to fight, many women took on new roles, often involving night shifts or travel across darkened cities. Cummins preyed on this vulnerability, targeting those who had no choice but to navigate the shadows alone. His crimes became a symbol of the dangers lurking in spaces that were supposed to offer anonymity and safety. Today, Gordon Cummins and his brief but brutal killing spree remain a chilling reminder of how evil can operate under the guise of normalcy. He wasn't a lurking figure in the shadows. Cloaked in menace, he was a man in uniform, walking among others, blending in. The Blackout Killer didn't just use the darkness of war, he embodied it. His case continues to haunt true crime enthusiasts and historians alike, not just for the crimes he committed, but for the eerie way he disappeared into the night, almost as silently as he had emerged. In the midst of wartime London during the 1940s, when the city was blanketed in blackout restrictions to avoid detection by enemy bombers, a far more intimate terror began to emerge from within. Gordon Frederick Cummins, later dubbed the Blackout Killer, exploited the darkness and fear of war to carry out a brutal killing spree. A seemingly respectable Royal Air Force officer by day, Cummins roamed the pitch-black streets by night, targeting women, often sex workers or those working late, luring them into quiet, unlit spaces where he would assault and murder them. The blackout, meant to protect civilians, ironically became the perfect shield for his crimes. Between February 9 and 13 of 1942, Cummins attacked 6 women, 4 fatally, in a wave of violence that shocked the already weary public. Wartime censorship limited the media's ability to report details, but fear began to spread nonetheless. Investigators scrambled for clues, operating with limited resources and rising public pressure. The breakthrough finally came when Cummins left behind a gas mask with his service number after a failed attack, leading to his arrest and the discovery of several victims' possessions in his room. Though he denied the murders, the evidence was undeniable. He was tried, convicted, and hanged within months. Cummins' brief but terrifying spree remains one of the darkest chapters in British criminal history. His case stands out not just because of the brutality of the murders, but because of how war itself inadvertently aided his concealment. He walked freely in uniform, blending in as a soldier among many. The blackout gave him cover, but it was society's assumptions about uniform, status, and appearance that gave him invisibility. Even decades later, the Blackout Killer serves as a chilling reminder that even in times of collective crisis, danger can come from within, hiding behind masks of normalcy.